Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. Today we're going to be playing at Stone's Casino. My normal go-to casino is either Capital or Thunder Valley, but I decided to mix it up today. I've been really working on my poker game this year, trying to open up my game and be more aggressive. I definitely did that today. I hope that you enjoy some of the plays I've made. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We're at Stone's Casino today in the 1-3 game. We buy in for 300. First hand we look at is King Jack of Clubs. We decide to raise two limpers from early position to 25. It gets folded around to the action player. He's been playing basically every hand. He's very, very sticky pre-flop, but I've noticed he's been giving up a lot after the flop. So he calls, the other two players fold, and we go heads up to a flop, which is a good one. Comes Jack high with a 4 and a deuce. He checks it over to me, and I continue with a $25 c-bet. He thinks for a little bit and decides on a fold. So we take down our first hand of the day, and we're off to the next one. We pick up 10s under the gun and open to a raise to 15. The cutoff calls to 15. The button raises to 40. The small blind calls the 40. I'm putting the button on a strong hand. He appears to be a good player. So I'm going to just go ahead and set mine here because I think I have a pretty good price to do so. So I put in the additional 25, and the cutoff also calls the 25. The cutoff is the action player I was speaking about earlier. He is very, very sticky. Anyway, the flop comes Jack 3 deuce. Small blind checks, I check. The cutoff now bets 30, and the button raises to 60. Small blind folds. I'm going to get out of the way here. I think he has some sort of overpair here. And the cutoff folds for the additional $30, and the button ends up showing two queens. There's a $10 straddle on. First person folds, next person calls the 10. I raise to 35 with ace 5 of spades. It gets folded back to the small blind, who's the action player. They put in the 3-bet to 60. The straddler folds. The opener thought it was only 35, and he puts out 25 more, but then realizes the raise was to 60, so he puts in the remaining amount. I have 25 more to call here with my suited ace, so I put it in, and we go 3 ways to a flop with 190 in the pot. The flop is Jack 6 5 with 1 spade. The small blind leads for 30. Rather a small amount. The person to my right puts in the call for the 30, and with bottom pair and a backdoor flush draw, I'm going to go ahead and peel. So with 280 in the pot, we see a turn card of an 8 of clubs. The small blind quickly checks. The player to my right checks also, and I decided I'm just going to see a free card. And we see the river, and it's a 8 of spades. So the small blind quickly checks again. The player to my right also checks, and I'm just going to check back with my showdown value. Small blind shows ace queen. Player to my right folds, and we take it down with a pair of 5s. Before we move on to the next hand, I have to explain, I've been watching the action player very closely because I know that's where all the profit's going to be coming from in this game. And he is extremely sticky. If he decides to play a hand pre-flop, it doesn't matter what you put in, he's going to come along and play. But he is extremely fearful and timid once the flop happens. He sees all the danger cards on every hand, and he assumes somebody has it. So it's very easy to build pots with him and very easy to take them away. I also picked up on 2 live reads off of him. one when he wants to continue and one when he wants to fold post-flop. This is the first time I've played with him, so I'm going to get some confirmation on these reads before I act upon them, and you'll be seeing that in the next few hands. We pick up ace 10 in the hijack, open for a raise to 15. Player in the cutoff calls, the action player in the small blind calls, and the big blind also calls. So we go 4 ways to a flop. King 9-7 with 1 spade. First 2 players check to me. I'm just going to check this back. Player behind checks. So we see a turn card of an 8 of spades, giving me a bunch of equity. The small blind now leads for $10. I just flat here, seeing what the player behind me does. It's possible he has a hand like Jack 10. He folds, and we see a river card of a queen of spades. The small blind leads again for 10. When I go reach for my chips, I'm taking a peek over at the small blind who bet, just to see if he has that tell again, and sure enough he did. So I go ahead and raise with my nut flush and take it down. Person limps in front of me and I limp behind him with king jack of clubs while I was taking notes from the previous hand. I think it's the first and only time I limped all day long. Anyway, we get 5-way action to the flop of Jack 6-7 with 2 spades. It gets checked to the player on my right, who bets out 10. I just flat here, and the player in the cutoff also flats. The sticky player in the blind folds, and the other player also folds. So we go 3 ways to a turn card. The turn is a 9 of hearts. The first player now checks. I bet half pot. And they both end up folding rather quickly. The $6 straddle is on this hand. I look down at 2 black 10s and decide to raise to 20. It gets folded around to the action player on the button. He puts in the call for the 20. The small blind also puts in the call. The big blind folds and the straddler puts in the 20. So we go 4 ways to a flop with 84 in of ace, jack, deuce with 2 hearts. It gets checked to me and I check it to the person on the button, the action player. He bets out 25. The next 2 players fold. And as I started reaching for my chips, I was watching him and he did his little thing to let me know that he was interested in this hand, and I ended up folding. This is definitely the most interesting hand of the day. There's a $10 straddle on, 2 people fold, and I'm sitting here with ace 10 offsuit and raised to 35. It gets folded to the action player, who puts in a 3-bet to 63. The solid player in the straddle cold calls the 3-bet. Now I'm pretty sure that I have an inferior hand with very little equity compared to the other 2 players. But I do have position and I do have a very good read on the 3-better. So I came up with an idea of flatting here and seeing if I can take it away on the flop. My thought was that if the 3-better can get the good player out on the flop, I can get a read on him whether he would want to continue or not, and then play accordingly. So after I had all my plan worked out in my head, and how wonderful it would be to be able to take this pot away, I put in the call for 33 more, and we go 3 ways to a flop with 190 in the pot. My cards have not changed. The flop comes Jack 7-4 rainbow. There are 3 better now bets out for $30. This is a similar bet to what he did when he had the ace queen against my ace 5 of spades. The next player calls rather quickly. With this strong player calling the bet on the flop, I'm putting his range basically at 1 pair, either a king jack, queen jack type of hand, or he could be in there with pocket 7s and flop to set and slow playing it. But I'm really thinking it's just 1 pair. So I decided to go ahead with my original idea. And when I reach for my chips, I'm looking at the player, the action player, to see if I get the read. And he does give me a read that he is not likely to proceed. So I go ahead with my raise. I make it 140. I wanted to look a little bit value-y and yet be big enough to force out someone who might be a little bit sticky. And this is where things really get weird. The player, the action player, goes into the tank and then turns his cards face up as he folds, and he folds pocket aces. I am not kidding you. He folded them face up. The etiquette is bad. The fold is bad. Everything about this is bad. And the dealer reprimands him for flashing and showing his cards when there's still action to be complete. So now it's to the solid player, and he's sitting there, and he said he had ace jack, and he ended up folding also. So I got this bluff through, which really should not have made it through with all the hands that were out against me. Our final hand of the day, we looked down at 2 red kings on the button, and after 2 limpers, we decided to raise it up to 25. One of the limpers is the action player. It gets folded around to him. He looks at his cards and he gets sticky. He decides 25 is not enough, and he just jams all in for 70. Of course, I call off here. And excuse the camera work, the plexiglass kind of got my focus out of focus. Anyway, the flop comes ace, king, queen with 1 spade. Turn card is the ace of spades. River card is a 8 of spades. And he quickly shows over that he made a 9 high flush, and I take this one down with my full house. I really felt sorry for the action player. His style of play makes it very difficult for him to ever win. And I actually felt a little guilty taking advantage of him. But then again, if I didn't, somebody else would. So I think the money is better spent in my pocket than someone else's. I wish him luck in the future. I've seen many players like this through my lifetime, and they all seem to go broke rather quickly. I was pleased the way I played today. I thought my image was strong at the table, and my aggressive betting got some hands through that shouldn't have got through. I can't believe that player folded pocket aces. The strong player, he probably put me on a hand like pocket queens, pocket kings, or maybe a set of 7s. Anyway, I can't fault him too much for folding. 2 of his outs were now shown to be gone if I had queens or kings. So I think his fold was okay. He was the person I was concerned about the most when I started that play. And I'm still in disbelief that the action player folded aces on such a dry flop. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys getting to the end of this video. If you like it, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel a lot. Hope you guys run good, and we'll see you next time.